Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Withrow, and I will be presenting today on the characteristics of a CTE student for Dr. Jerry Ennis Taylor's CTE 5660 class. Just a little bit of background information on me. I was in the industry for roughly 7 years since I got out of high school, and I jumped right into culinary school. Was in culinary school, got my bachelor's in hospitality management and my associates in culinary arts. And then I decided to jump into the world of education. So this will be my first year teaching Pro Start 1 and 2, and then next year I'll be changing to the whole culinary arts and hospitality curriculum in 2020. So to start my presentation, I want to talk about what CTE is. I'm sure we are more than all aware of what CTE stands for, which is Career and Technical Education. So it is a term applied to schools, institutions, and educational programs that specialize in the skilled trades, applied sciences, modern technologies, and career preparation. So what this really means for us is that we're teaching kids how to leave high school, and most likely, which college is not always going to be the best way for everybody, to go out and get a secondary training or secondary degree, whether it be an associate's degree or just a training education in the career field that they choose. Now, not all career fields do require a 2 or 4 year degree. You can escalate and prosper in your field even if you don't have that education. But it is a studies have shown that if you do have that education, you can earn a little bit more than just having a high school diploma. So CT in the past, I think we all can really think about it, was wood shop, masonry, and mechanics. Nowadays, it's changed so much and giving students so many more options on what they can choose, whether it be from culinary arts to business management to sports marketing, fashion merchandising. When you take Microsoft classes, you can take financing, you can take woodshop, you can take agriculture. You can definitely expand your horizons. The huge thing it was viewed as a dumping ground for unmotivated and academically declined students. So the students that were being seen going into these programs were students that were not doing so well in their core classes such as math, social studies, literature, and science. Which is crazy because in the CTE world, we use all of those every single day to help us gain better understanding of all our standards. So when I read that this was a dumping ground for unmotivated and academically declined students, I was kind of dumbfounded because I think of the kids that I've actually just started working with, and they're some of the brightest kids not so much when it comes to, I guess I would say when it comes to our core studies, yes, they struggle a little bit, but when they actually speak and they are giving you their understanding, it's a lot more brighter and less structured than I would expect of someone who's in all honors classes. And they know you have to say this, this, and this, but there's no real bright idea. It's a large male population, so this is also very true still. A lot of CTE courses such as carpentry, masonry, and agriculture are large males. We know that. But classes such as business marketing, culinary arts, even the nursing pathways are still very large male populated. So yeah, there were limited in career technical education pathways. This means that we didn't give so many options to the students when they really wanted those options. So now that we know what a CTE looks like, we need to know what the professionals look like. So most of us teachers are coming out of a career and jumping straight into education. I know that a few of the teachers at my school actually still have their real estate license, or they're still doing their jobs on the side. So it's still a part of them that they hold really close and dear. And they're jumping into the world of education, but because they saw that there was a gap when they had applicants or they had people coming into the business world. We do recognize that college is super expensive. We recognize that not every student can afford to go to a 4-year college or even afford to go to a 2-year college. And that some of the certificates that we're giving them within our programs are going to be the ones that they hold on to for a long time. So why we jumped into the education program for my own reasons, because I wanted to change the kind of kids that were just jumping into culinary school because they thought the Food Network was fun. My classroom is set up very professionally while we still have fun. And I remind them that I'm training you, I'm teaching you how to jump from high school into the world of food, or how to jump in, how to find your niche in this small little world and find the career that's right for you. Our classes are everly changing due to the industry's needs and wants changing. So I've realized this, that when I was looking at the new curriculum changes for the North Carolina CTE, when it was changing from Pro Start to Culinary Arts, that's because everything in high school, Pro Start 1 and 2 can't give you everything. We need to start giving our kids more, and this also allows for concentrations instead of pathways throughout our school. So I really think that's interesting. And as CTE teachers, we have the ever changing all the time. So what do our students look like? You can sit there and you can think about the 1 or 2 good students you have in the class, or the 1 or 2 bad students you have in your class. But for what my students look like, it changes all the time. So when our students first start, this is the questions they usually ask. Where should I go? What career do I want to choose? What if I want to change my pathway throughout my high school career? Can I complete 1 or more pathways? I had all these questions within the first day of teaching, and I was looking at my students like, the answers will come, but a lot of it's based on you. We found out that our counselor, not everyone is fully aware of what our programs are offering. So we require a lot of word of mouth from our students and our other teachers to kind of push our kids in the right direction. So how we're answering those questions. So what does your school do to welcome those to your CTE world? In middle school in our county, it's very, we don't have a lot of CTE. We may have, a family consumer science and an agriculture class, but that's it. We are offering our students, we show a CTE PowerPoint. And our CTE PowerPoint actually goes over what a CTE pathway is. We'll learn all the different pathways we have, and then what are CTE scholarships and some of our CTSOs, which are Career and Technical Student Organizations. So our department requires that we show that within the first 2 days. That way we can start pushing kids in the right direction after going over which pathway we're in, which I'm in the hospitality and tourism pathway, which again is changing because our pathways now will be changing to concentrations. That's how it was described to me at the conference, is our pathways are changing from you complete the Pro Start pathway and then you can be a CTE scholar. Well, you complete culinary 1 through 4 and you get the certification, the concentration, and you've completed it. So how are you guys, what I want you guys to think about, what are some ways that you guys can present the CTE world to your class? Do you guys have some PowerPoint set up for your other teachers? I'm sure we all have the same questions going on from other students, but how are you guys recognizing that these questions have to be answered overall? Because not everyone's going to raise their hand and ask those questions. So let's break it down by grades. Again, this is all what I've seen based on my students. So my freshmen have been the ones who have jumped from class to class. Because they're not really sure what CTE is. A lot of counselors don't sit there, and not every school has like a course guide that goes over what a Pro Start 1 class compared to a Foods 1 class is. Of course, if they see food, they're saying, I'm going to eat every single day. When you see Pro Start, you're not really sure of what you're getting. Carpentry is pretty basic, and it's the same when it comes to Microsoft and business finance or career management classes that we are teaching in our schools. They're not really sure what they're taking when they get their freshman schedule. Sophomores, they might know about the classes, like they've heard different stories. They're talking to their friends, like, hey, are you in Miss B's business finance class or accounting class? What's that like? What do I do? What are some projects you were doing? That's how I've heard a lot of our students getting to know what the classes are. So they're taking a lot of word of mouth from the peers. And then our juniors and seniors are the ones who are sure about this. Like, they want to use these classes to either graduate in a pathway, or they're going to do something outside of this or outside of the school that is revolved in the careers that we're offering. I have a lot of students starting my Pro Start 1 class that are seniors or juniors. And the only reason they're doing it is because they've taken the Foods 1 and 2, or they've taken Foods 1 and they want to, get in depth with Pro Start 1. So they know more. Like I said, sophomores are talking about it's word of mouth. They've heard from their peers. Well, juniors and seniors are doing the same thing. They also know what is expected of them. They've gone through their core classes. They're ending their high school careers, so they know when they come into a career and technical education classroom, it's going to be different. We expect a little bit more professionalism. We expect more respect when it comes from these students. So they're a little bit more aware when it's all said and done about what they're taking and who they're taking it with. So after going over how our students should be when they come in, asking the questions of what should I do, what pathways can I complete more than one, do I have to take these classes, and now that we know why they're taking our classes, or what are the kind of students coming in, are they sure about it, are they unsure, maybe they heard about us and they want to stay in our class because we're cool. I hope everyone's a cool teacher. These are the characteristics our students should have after completing the pathway or concentration or just completing one of our classes altogether. So I said goal-oriented because when I started my class, that was the first thing I asked. We all have our little about me sheets that talk about our favorite color, favorite food, favorite book or whatever, favorite subject. I did a goal sheet. I had every student write down a goal. We went over SMART goals, and we talked about a goal that they wanted to complete for my class. Or even just if they couldn't think of one for the class, they had to think of one academically. We gave them a timeline. We asked what would make it difficult, what would make it, how are we going to work on it together? And we all agreed that we would go over these between the beginning, the mid, and the end of the semester. That way that we can keep track, and that teaches them that they need to keep up and measure their goals that they're going on. We're asking our students to perform tasks using different subcategories of their core subjects. So when we go into a carpentry class, we know that we need to know 1 plus 1 equals 2, different angles, percentages, and then communication languages. Our school has 91 ES English learning students this year, and not only is that number rising every single year as political climates change all over the country. It's just important that we are making sure that we can have each student perform at these different subcategories and not just limiting them. So definitely working on basic English, which could mean writing a paper or writing or just, having a class-led discussion and having open sets of communication, knowing the history of, we're also doing a history project in my class. We're going over the history of the hospitality world. Knowing the importance of different world facts, grabbing from each subject and putting into our class, because that's how our industries work. Leadership skills have been introduced and worked on. So these classes are great because it gives each student the ability to find their own form of leadership style. In the kitchen, I know that you have the executive chef, the sous chef, the chefs under them, and that's what they're in charge of. You are creating the standard of leadership that is required for them to have some sort of leadership skill within your class. Teamwork. I don't think anyone can say that they work in solitary when it comes to working in a CTE classroom. You are required, at least in my brain, to work with another person when it comes into your actual career. You work with every different kind of person in your career. So it is important for our students to come out knowing that they have to be able to work efficiently and appropriately with someone else, that even if they don't like them, they're going to work with them and complete the task that needs to be done. I do a work ethic grade and not instead of a participation grade. This grade includes communication with your peers. It includes the appropriateness, how you act in my classroom, which could mean, do you talk over the teacher? Are you on your cell phone? Are you completing your task in a timely manner? Are you determined? And then critical thinking. I ask a question, I get an answer, I ask another question. But both of my questions are always going to be open-ended. I never give a definite yes or no question. I want to know what you think, and I want to know how you think. So when my students come out of my class, they're able to give a detailed answer, but it's not just a yes or no answer. It's a yes or no answer with 3 or 4 sentences behind it, giving them that reason why, because I want them to be able to think about one subject and pull from it and pull every little detail out and critically think about it and have a cognitive thought. Because if they just give a yes or no answer to their boss of why are you doing this? What have you learned from this? Yes or no is just going to be so. So how can we check the skills of our students? The skills of our students are what we most perform. So do you use more tests or projects in skills? In my classroom, I have openly said that we will be doing more hands-on work, because if I know that you can complete a task, such as creating a marketing plan, or let's do a menu costing sheet, and then let's go jump in and show me how your knife cuts look. Show me how you can make this soup that we've gone over 3 or 4 times. Complete this recipe and convert it and complete it in the way that it needs to be done. That's going to show me that you are obtaining and retaining the knowledge that we've spent 3 days talking about and moving on. So the students that I have are going to be more of kinesthetic learners compared to those who test well. The kids who come into my class can do more hands-on than they can do when they're looking at a sheet of paper with 70 questions and not completing it to its fullest extent, because they just couldn't. That's not how they learn, and that's not a great way to assess what they've learned. So some programs do require skill checks. I know with the health and science pathway that my health and science teacher actually has skill checks she does every single class for her first and second period. This just includes the things that they need to do. They are allowed to practice. They are allowed to do that. So I do skill checks when it comes to the kitchen with using knife skills, techniques, watching the students, checking off whether they've done it in the correct order, and all that, and watching the finished product come out. Our students are more able to describe as they go instead of sit there and write a list of what they're doing. They do plan. Our students coming out of this class should be able to effectively plan their day, effectively plan what they're going to be doing in our labs, and creating an environment for themselves that's going to be an effective learning environment. I give a lot of our students should take personal responsibility and accountability from themselves. So going back to what our characteristics are our students should have after completing our class, there should be a sense of accountability when it comes to the tasks and final product that they have created. Whether it be in marketing and you just completed this big marketing class, you are accountable for your mistakes. We're teaching on work ethic. When we talk about work ethic, you're accountable to be in class. You're accountable to be on time. All the things that in the professional world we need for each of our workers. So definitely going back and discussing our expectations for class. Our students know our expectations. They're very career-oriented, and they're gaining these professional skills that they're going to need to move on in the real world. So that really does complete what I see when it comes to what our students should look like. I believe that moving forward, I'll definitely see a little bit more of the characteristics that I was just talking about. But since it's my first year and these are my first time with the students I have, I'm just going to tell you now that I'm going off of what I've seen. Moving on, I look forward to knowing that my students are getting these professional standards for themselves. And even if they don't use them when they go into the culinary world, which I know a lot of students are not, they're able to use it in their marketing class, or they can say, I took Miss Withero's Pro Start 1 class, and I used those same professional standards that she discussed with me, and I put them to work when it came to finishing my math projects, my papers, and I gave myself integrity and accountability because that's what I learned in my CTE pathway. So not only do CTE pathways really push for our own strive, we also push for that academic strive. And it's actually known that the more classes a student takes in the CTE world, the more likely they are to graduate high school. Our classes are designed to develop and enhance the skills of core subjects while also preparing our students for a career pathway. So looking forward, I am just super excited about this. I can't wait to get to know more about my students and see how their growth. And I look forward to sharing that information with you guys in this class. So thank you so much for listening to me talk about the characteristics of our career and technical education students. And I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback. Thanks so much.